Is this really that expensive? Are you recording?
Yes.
What? Hey everybody, Steve here from the Hamilton Collection. It is another day, another pair of joggers, and another car that we're going to show you. We've got my Bugatti Chiron here. I've had this thing for a little over 6 months. I put about 100 miles, actually over 100 miles each week on this. And today we're going to go over this and the maintenance costs. And let me tell you what, you have to stick around for these maintenance costs because I basically had my team call the Bugatti dealership and do a little bit of research, and these are way flipping higher than I was expecting. Had me second guessing my purchase. No, just kidding. I absolutely love it, but they are crazy high. Check that out. That's sexy. That's hot. So before we get to the maintenance costs, I'm going to show you guys a few awesome facts about the Bugatti and just walk through it a little bit. All right, so Bugatti wanted to keep this whole entire dash very, very timeless and super clean. They actually didn't put a huge LCD display right here on the dash because those things can get very dated very quickly and make a car look like it's from 2010 or from whatever it is. So they did these 4 clean gauges here that control AC, temperature, and then you can hit a little button and it'll show some other like driving related specs. Very clean, simple instrument cluster, speedometer that goes up to 300 miles an hour. And let me tell you that this thing is probably one of the most comfortable cars that I own. It's really just built for the driver. It isn't a car that will track really well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've taken it to the track a few times. You got to find that picture of when my calipers turned orange.
Well,
but
yeah.
I took it to the track a few times and I beasted this thing. I actually shocked the Triple F collection with how hard I drove this thing.
We plan to track our Chiron, but probably not like that. I love seeing the P1 and Bugatti on the track, just driving them the way they're supposed to be driven.
And I drove it so hard that the rotors went bright orange and I lost about half my brakes on the straightaway. I also asked the guy at the track what the fastest anybody hits on their straightaway, and he's like, in the 150s. I'm like, well, I went about 159. Moving on. There's a couple dials on the steering wheel here. These are just simple like radio controls. That's another control that navigates through channels or the different band. Paddle shifters, and then this will select the different modes. So we have Autobahn, Track, EB, and then the one on the far left is just a regular front end lift, so you can put it in trailers or get over big bumps. And then you start it right here. We're going to start it up real quick for you. Don't worry, the car's not cold. All right, it is really though, don't tell him. It still smells like a barn in here, Tommy. So took it to the Bugatti dealership a few months ago to get a taillight fix that took 6 weeks. Came back smelling like a barn whenever you run the AC, and it still smells like a barn. They can't do anything about that for real?
They also quoted me 3 days for the annual service. It was there for a week and a half. So
needless to say, we won't be going to Bugatti Chicago anymore. And I mean that. Funny little feature here is I could not find out how many miles I had put on this thing because they put, when you turn the cruise control on, it hides the odometer. And Tommy and I could not figure out where the miles went forever. And then one day I just turned off the cruise control and then the mileage popped up on there. So go figure. Something I've been a little disappointed about with the Bugatti, and there's not much at all, it's that there's some lag in shifting. You slap it over and down to get it in reverse and you hit the gas, but it takes a good solid 2 seconds to shift into gear, and that frustrates me a little bit. Same with drive. And sometimes it just won't shift into reverse despite going over and hard down. Really, there's not much more that I've got to complain about this thing beyond that. This Bugatti actually happens to be the only one with the Spirit Blue stitching as well. It was made specifically for this car and the only one in the world with that. So when you buy a Bugatti, you get this huge silver treasure chest full of stuff. Inside that's a USB, a bunch of literature, and also a speed key. You take that speed key and you enter it in right here. And that opens this thing up to its full 264 mile an hour capability, and I hopefully will get there someday, but probably not. First, I got to get hit 200 miles an hour, and I will do that.
I'm gonna beat him to 200, but I won't tell him. So he'll do that.
There's a spot where the key goes right here inside the dash. Unfortunately, I've got this little standard just Volkswagen key, which is the backup spare / valet key, because I lost the original like white gold platinum looking $10,000 key a week after I got this thing and have not been able to find it ever since. So if you find it, please send it back to me. It is the only Bugatti key with Spirit Blue stitching in the United States of America. Surprising feature about this is it has half power, half manual seats. I would have never expected a $3 million car to have any sort of manual option on the seat. I can adjust right here. I can adjust the back of it to go forward, backwards with those, but there's actually a metal knob here that you got to pull up to manually adjust forward and backwards. So that was a surprise. As I got out of the car, Tommy verified the top speed was 261 miles an hour. Moving on. Basically has matching oil fills on this side. On the other side, there's the exact same setup, and that is where I do the fuel fill. I mix them up often. But I do not put fuel into the oil, so we're okay there. We're okay there. This thing has massive calipers and rotors. They are drilled rotors and they are 16 inches big. That is literally the size of a lot of the wheels we sell. As you saw in the intro, and one of my favorite features is the headlights. You can see how they do that. I don't even want to know how much it cost them to manufacture something that did that, but very sexy. I think the spec on this blue and black paint is super sexy. That's why I got this in the first place. There were quite a bit of these for sale. Now there aren't too many, but there were quite a bit for sale, and I just really love this combo and had to have it, and I made it happen. There's another sister version of this car that has white stitching on the interior and bright blue wheels. When I took delivery of my P1, the other Bugatti was sitting in the truck, and we talked the guy into pulling it off, and we got these things nose to nose, and it was so cool seeing like the sister version. It's probably the only time that'll ever happen. That those two will ever be together. So I always run this in Autobahn mode because it pops the spoiler up, and I love having the spoiler up. It looks really clean with it down, but it looks just a lot better and more raw with it up. It will also just come up automatically at 110 miles an hour. It kicks it into Autobahn mode at that speed. You can see it has like the open engine cover. Rain will just get right on this thing when I drive it in the rain often. Follow me and subscribe to see me do stupid shit in all of my cars in the winter, especially this one. This thing has a 1500 horsepower W16. This thing actually has quad turbos on it, and they are huge. The sound of the wastegate when it just kicks that extra boost is deafening. It literally will almost pop your eardrums. It's louder than any other car that I have that has turbos, and most of them have turbos. And you'll see that in a little bit when we take it for a drive. So when I drive this thing, I get it over 90 miles an hour pretty much every probably 7 minutes. And it rolls the windows up automatically, which drives me crazy because I only go over 90 miles an hour for like a few seconds. Of course, in Mexico. Automatically rolls the windows up. 3 seconds later, I'm rolling them down. It's just a constant battle when I drive because Mexico has a lot of opportunities to go fast. And most intriguing is that one single long brake light in the back. And then, of course, it also has some awesome exhaust tips on the bottom that can get rid of all of that massive amount of waste from the 16 cylinders of sexiness. So we hit the main points on this thing. There are, of course, a ton of other facts. I can go on all day long and bore you guys, but I think we hit the good stuff. If there is something specific that you want to know, just mention it in the comments and we'll do our best to get back to you. Moving on to the maintenance, though, and the thing that absolutely shocked me, and I'm going to use this sheet a little bit to cheat because there's just too much info on here to remember. So this vehicle costs a little over $3 million. It's spec'd at actually $3,058,500. It's got a 4-year, 40,000 mile warranty on it. So once this thing is out of warranty, which happens in November of 2022, I'm going to be responsible for every 14 months maintaining this thing at a steep cost of $25,000. Again, I'm going to use this as a cheat sheet, but the $25,000 includes draining the oil, doing the oil filter coolant, and cleaning every one of the 16 drain plugs on this engine. It takes 16.5 quarts of oil and takes 27 hours to maintain. 16.5 quarts of oil. I don't even know her. That was weak. Scheduling maintenance can be a little tough because oftentimes they actually have to fly out techs from France to assist the local technicians with maintaining the vehicle and performing service. Bugatti recommends that I change these tires every 16 months. That's not gonna happen. I have to change these every 16 months at a steep cost of around $8,000 for a set of 4. Fortunately, I got a building full of rubbers and my homeboys do too. Bugatti also says that the wheels expire after 10,000 miles and they should be replaced at a simple cost of just $50,000 for the set of 4. I say no to that. I'm just gonna go find some cheap 16-inch chrome, alloy wheels, throw them on here and call it a day. So them's brakes right there are 8-piston forged aluminum, 8 freaking pistons of brakes. That is crazy. And then the rear ones are 6-piston. These are the largest brakes in the world to be on a production vehicle. And the brakes actually stop faster than this thing can accelerate. And I can tell you firsthand that this car will brake faster than any of the other supercars that I have behind you or in my car condo or wherever else I store them. Is this really that expensive? Are you recording?
Yes.
What? The front, so I've got a cheat sheet again, but the front brakes are $118,000 for the discs, pads, and calipers. $118,000. And how hard I brake, this thing's going to be $118,000 a year to maintain. Dear Lord. So remember that 720S windshield that we broke? If not, check out our YouTube video on that one. But this bish costs $60,000 to replace, so we are going to be extra careful. So just like the wheels, the turbochargers also have an expiration date. You are supposed to replace the turbos every 4 years at a steep cost of $26,000.
Those are some expensive turbochargers.
Turbocharger? I don't even know her. Stop! So every 5 years, there's a couple other things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to replace the entire fuel tank at $44,000. Change the air duct cooler kit at $21,982. The cam chassis need to be adjusted. That's just $6,400. Of course, the labor is $21,000 on top of that. And finally, you need to tune the engine and do some calibration after that for just under $30,000. So the average cost to insure these is around $3,500 a month. I was able to insure it for about $737 a month because I may still own a bunch of cars, as you can see, but I ain't no dummy. I will find the cheapest price insurance or whatever it may be. That's actually true. There is all truth to that. Fuel, this thing takes 22 gallons of fuel. Right now it's about $100 to fill that up. I feel like I'm filling this thing up pretty much every week. What are you laughing at? Did I say something wrong?
Fill him. I don't even know.
Oh my god. So adding that all together, that's three oil changes, 2 rim and tire changes, set of brakes, disc calipers, engine tuning, plus a single replacement for the quad turbos, the air duct coolers, and the fuel tank. And that is a total cost of roughly $500,000 to maintain this thing for 4 years. So I'm a little depressed. My wife is questioning being married to me, and I'm just overall upset about all these costs. And I think I'm gonna have to go rip on this car really hard to make me feel a little bit better. All right, here we go. So what I like about this car is it's actually pretty quiet. It has a really deep, low rumble to the exhaust. It's one of the few cars that I can pull in late at night. Once it's out of warranty, of course, we're gonna put some kind of stupid exhaust system on it, so it's gonna just wake up the entire neighborhood, but I've got a good year before we do that. So as we enter the streets of Mexico here, I'm gonna do my first pull. Get around this little corner. Here we go. That's 100. Woo! And the brakes are absolutely amazing. One more pull. It's a little cold out. I lost a little bit of traction there, but good thing I'm a good driver. There's the shift. You see how I hit the gas and it took 2 seconds to actually kick it into gear? That drives me crazy. You actually have to slap it 2 times right to get it into drive when it's in reverse, which is also kind of silly. So I've hit 182 miles an hour in this thing. Tommy apparently has hit 191 miles an hour. This is probably going to be the safest and the best car that I'm going to hit 200 miles an hour in. I will do it, it's just a matter of time. So the all-wheel drive is what's going to allow me to be able to drive this in the winter. I'm still going to drive all the rear-wheel drives, but I think this thing will be a little more attractive to take out when it's snowing, when it's cold, because that traction will be all the better. And I absolutely whip all of my cars in rain, in snow. I don't let that stop me. I love the looks. This guy's like, what's important is that I share this thing with the world. I have zero issue with little kids, adults sitting in it, revving it up, driving it. Frankly, you'd be surprised the amount of people I've let drive this thing. Literally student drivers, 16-year-olds, anybody that's got a good story, or anybody that's really passionate about cars, will get some kind of unique opportunity or chance to have some fun. Kind of summing it up, this thing is an absolute thrill. It is more of a straight line car. Again, I've taken it to the track a few times. It's very fast on the straightaway, but it's very heavy and a little bit tough to take around corners because it's so heavy. In a straight line, this thing's gonna beat pretty much anything that it's up against. It's quiet, it is comfortable, the suspension is amazingly comfortable, and this one is just, it has the right balance of comfort, the level of loudness, and the street presence is second to none. There's no car I have that gets more looks than this thing. I don't know. it keeps me speechless still, 7 months after buying this thing. Thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button as we go over a whole bunch more cars that I've got. Natalia, please take it away.
As you guys know, Steve has a lot of cars, so whichever car you guys want us to go over, let us know in the comments and we will get to it. Thanks, bye.
you believe I got to Mexico in that little bit of time, did all that driving, and then came back here?